I became a teacher because when I started teaching the nurse aides, teaching the fundamentals of nursing, I found out that that was what I just loved to do, that I could take that piece of what I knew as a nurse and go into the classroom and be in the lab and help those students learn how to be good caregivers. It just made me feel really good when I left, so I knew that that's where I needed to be. Being a teacher means to me having new healthcare providers come into this area, this profession, and learning what it takes to be at the bedside and provide good, safe care to people. So being a teacher means to me that I can take what I know and what I've learned over the many years of doing nursing, like 30 years, and helping groom these students into being able to go to the bedside and provide safe care. I would describe myself as a teacher as being passionate about what I'm trying to get the students to learn. My favorite part of teaching them is being in the nursing home with them, being at the bedside with them in a live setting. So we practice here in the lab, and that I enjoy that, but my favorite piece is taking the pretend part and going into the nursing home and actually taking care of an elderly person or a sick person and seeing the students shine and say, oh, I really can do this on a person and not a mannequin. What gives me the most joy and satisfaction in teaching is when I run into students out in the community, when I'm taking new group of students into the nursing home and I run into older students that I've had, previous students that I've had, and they're working and they're actually working to help my new students learn, or they're telling me what wonderful job that they have and how happy they are that what they're giving, or that my voice haunts them, that they say, oh, I can hear you say, you better make that bed right, or you better make sure that you keep that person safe, or put your bed up high, or that's not the correct vital sign, do it again. They said that I haunt them so that they're better caregivers, so I love that part. I remember early on in my career teaching, and I had a student who was just not getting it. And we had to work really, really hard for her to understand, and I didn't think she was ever going to pass. And I didn't know what kind of caregiver she was really going to be. I worked part-time at the hospital, and one day this student, who when she finished came walking up on the floor, and she was now going to be working next to me as a new employee. And my first thought was, oh no. And I learned a lot from that lesson because we worked side by side and she was amazing. And she kept saying, I've learned everything from you, and she actually did such a great job. I would let her take care of me. She was one of the best caregivers that I've ever seen giving care. So I learned a lot from that for me as an instructor to look beyond what I'm seeing and more into that person and give them, I learned to change how I teach and think. Something about myself that you may not know, that this is the only kind of work I've ever done. I've been a nurse for over 35 years. I used to ride my bicycle to a little old lady's house when I was 15 and wash her feet for $2 a week, and I loved it. And then I went in and became a nurse at 17. And then that's all I've ever done. And my dog, my lab, is the love of my life, and my husband knows that.
Being a teacher means so much to me because, like you say, I'm the foundation. I'm a first grade teacher. I'm hoping by the time they graduate, they'll remember Miss Melton and that I did have an impact. I'm part of their overall success, even if I'm just a small piece of the puzzle. What I do is important, and I love what I do. I chose first grade because kids at that age, they're sponges, and they want it so bad. And I think half the battle in getting kids to perform for you is to motivate them and in first grade, they come with that energy and that want to. And so I want to set them up for having success and for wanting to come to school every day and being excited. And I just love the energy that they bring. And every day it's something new. I never know when I walk into that classroom what I'm getting. And I just love that age. I love reading and the foundation of phonics. It's just my heart. I think my strongest asset as a teacher is that I build connections. Relationships are huge, and I think that I'm a big motivator. I believe in my kids, and I think they genuinely feel my sincerity and my passion for what I do, and so I get them to buy into what I'm selling, and I love it. Like most things in life, the thing that gives me the most joy are the things that seem to stretch me the most. Those times when I think, oh, I've tried this and this and this, and this kid's not getting it, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and it clicks, and I just get satisfaction in that my job is not mundane, and it's not, every day is a new challenge, and every day I'm stretched beyond my comfort zone. And I just love knowing that, hey, I do make a difference at the end of the day. If I could do anything I wanted to do, I would love at some point to be on American Ninja Warrior. That's a dream or a passion that I would love to have. A reality, probably not, but I love the physical aspects, so that's something kind of neat. A highlight from my teaching career would be one year I had a child who really struggled. And I tried everything that I can think of to help this child succeed, and it just wasn't getting through. And you know, you come down to, do I hold this kid back? Do I retain him? Do I not? So we made the decision to retain her, and I struggled with that decision. I knew maturity was a factor, but the very next year, her parents requested that she be back with me. And man, the next year when I see this kid really start to flourish and take off, and she no longer struggled, and she went from really kind of just having to struggle to keep up to maintain, she kind of became a leader. And now I see her in the hallways years later, smiling, grinning, well-adjusted, and knowing that we set her up for success. That's a highlight that makes me really proud, because that's a hard call to make.
Well, I mean, a lot of people used to, love teacher work days, love the summers off. Sort of fell in love with going to work with my dad. My dad actually retired from teaching. He taught social studies at Broadview Middle. He taught PE and health at what used to be the old Seller's Gun before he transitioned to Cummings. And that was just one of the things I did whenever there was a teacher work day, and sometimes in the summers because he coached as well. I'd go hang out at school with them. It's just, I fell in love with the whole idea of standing in front of the board, teaching, helping students. Love to make my own little worksheets when I go home. I used to have those old carbon copies, not many people know about those. But just the whole idea of just helping somebody else out. I'm responsible for our future. I'm responsible for educating our future. And I don't know, it's something I love to do. I love the whole idea of every day is something new and every day is something different. Everybody wants to touch a child, and it happens. There are some that unfortunately I can't make a difference in their lives. They have other issues that are beyond my control outside of the school environment. But knowing that I can make a difference, and I have kids who'll come back and say, thank you for what you did, or you really did help me. I wasn't very good at math, but now I feel a little bit better about it. I always tell them, I hope you will at least walk away and say, I like math. I like what we did today. You may not love it, but as long as you liked it and you see that you have a purpose for learning math in your future life. There's somewhere, somehow, some shape, some form, you're going to need some math skills. The thing that gives me the most joy in teaching is not the awards, not the accolades that come along with it sometimes. It's just the joy of having students who will write me a note. Several times throughout the school year, other teachers have, students write notes, or sometimes they just write a note and they send it to me. And where they just put, paper to pencil and say, thank you for what you've done for me. And I appreciate everything, even though maybe you weren't their favorite. Even having students who come back to the school and will thank you, or see you out in the public and say thank you for what you did. I always enjoyed your class. To me, it's all about them anyway. It's all about the students. And so having them personally say thank you, that means a lot. Sometimes students will say I'm a little too excited. about math, and I haven't even had coffee at that point in time, which is okay. So I think they see my energy in the classroom as just the excitement and the joy that I get from teaching math and being here every single day. I know I have kids who will come back and say, "Oh, I just missed you. You were so loud. You all of a sudden you make a noise, you say something and it just like catch me off guard." I love that. So I guess the energy level, sometimes the wackiness of what I do, they do enjoy that. You know, I'm all about some songs, some math songs, and you know, making crazy hand motions to go with it. Something to help them learn the vocabulary or learn a process that they might forget. So energetic, wacky. I don't know, some might even say I'm fun, maybe. That F word in school, fun, maybe that.
I first got into teaching because I loved school. I was always that student who was disappointed when we didn't have homework on the first week of school. My friends didn't think that was too great, but I was eager to keep practicing my skills. And as I grew, I met many influential teachers all over my high school, elementary school, middle school career. And what stood out to me the most was my love for music. And I wanted to make other students, future students, feel the way that I felt, which was confident and accepted and very good at a skill. That's something that many grown-ups wish that they had. So I looked at teaching. My dad actually encouraged me to be a teacher, and he found the North Carolina Teaching Fellow Scholarship, and I put those together so that I could take my love of music and my love of school and teaching and combine them towards creating what I hope is what I refer to as my magnum opus of inspired musical students. Some call me Music Teacher Barbie. I get really excited about a lot of things. I love what I do. It sounds cliche, but it's the truth. My teaching style is I have high expectations and I do not like to be disappointed. The students like to say, "Miss Collins, don't play." I am 4'10", so I teach students who are a lot taller than me at times, and that doesn't matter because you are not what you are made of on the outside. You are what's on the inside and the effort that you put forth. So I take that into my teaching style and I combine my high expectations with the high level of compassion for these students. I treat them like my own. I have 500 children and I love all of them dearly. So I combine those expectations because I know that they can meet them, plus the compassion with a little bit of sass to keep them in line, and we have a great time in here. I get really excited. In fact, the students ask me, "Why are you always so excited?" I said, "Well, I love what I do, and I love that you love that I'm excited and that you notice. And if I can continue that for as long as I can, all the way until I retire, that is the goal." Music at my school is very important. We have students who on paper don't amount to much in the eyes of test scores or things that have been sent down by people that do not know these hardworking, brilliant, hysterical, amazing children. In my classroom, I bring music, I bring elements from my childhood, I bring elements from their childhood, and elements from childhoods of children in Asia, Africa, India, wherever, and we combine them all in this room. And it does so many things. In the beginning, when I have them as kindergartners, they're shocked at the size of the room and the instruments and things they've never seen before. And by the time they leave me in 5th grade, they are confident individuals, they're knowledgeable about music. I don't teach them music so that they will be music majors or will be musicians. If they are and they're on American Idol, my Mercedes should be red. So remember Miss Collins, who got you there. But I don't teach them so that they'll make a career out of music. I teach them so they'll make a lifetime of music. I want them to be able to dance at their prom, to be able to rock their babies to sleep, to be able to boogie in their kitchen while they're doing the dishes for the rest of their lives. I want them to have an appreciation for music. My favorite experiences of all is when I have a student who spends most of the class like this, because they're not quite sure of what I would like for them to do. And by the end of the year, by the end of my time with them, they are volunteering, they're excited, they are ready to put their stamp on music, and they go out and they share that with other people. So I love getting to see them when they come back to me and they're still in music and music is important in their lives, and they tell me that I made a difference for them, and that's all I want to do with my job. I want to make a difference for these children who make such a difference for me.
I became a teacher because I love kids. I love teaching, and I felt like it was something I was kind of good at, maybe not fantastic, but it's just something that brought me a lot of joy to see kids grasp the concept. And I love kids and hanging out with them and teaching them new things. To me, I think to be a teacher means to instill like life skills. To me, that's more important, to make an impact and to guide a student into the next best step in their life and to guide them to leave those good steps behind for others to follow as well. It's not about the books that we read or the papers that we write, but preparing them more for life and to be a good citizen, I think is what a teacher means to me. As a teacher, I think I'm really laid back. I enjoy interacting with my students and getting to know them on a personal level, know their likes and dislikes and have fun while also learning. Because I think if they see that I'm having fun with it, they're going to have fun with it too. So I tend to be a little bit more laid back, I think, in the classroom. I don't know if it's something that makes me a good teacher, but I feel like I truly love my kids. Like, they are my kids. I've had hundreds of them and I consider each one my own, whether they have made me proud or disappointed me. But I think that might change the way I teach and approach the classroom. It's just, I truly do love my kids and I see potential in each of them. And I have a hope that they will do something great in the future. It gives me a lot of joy to see a kid grow. A's are not always the thing that bring me joy, but seeing a kid who really struggled to grasp Shakespeare at the beginning and see him understand it by the end, like that brings me a lot of joy. Or for a student to get excited about what we're doing, if I ask them to do something and they get excited about it, or they fall in love with a book that we have read, I think that brings me the greatest joy. It's just seeing them grow and learn to love education and love learning. I think one of the biggest highlights of my career so far has been a repeating English 1 class that we taught, full of mostly boys, all but like 2 girls who just had struggled to pass English 1 since their freshman year, and they're supposed to be juniors and seniors and still hadn't passed English 1, and they were all successful. And now I see some of those students and they're making A's and B's in all their classes because they had that one moment of success. And we had one student last year graduate, and to see him walk across the stage when he didn't think he would be able to graduate because of that one class has kind of been one of the highlights of my teaching career. It's not always about teaching the honors classes or the high level kids, but seeing those small moments of success that snowball into others, and seeing how it not only changes their grades, but their outlook on life. Almost all of those kids in that class now, like, they have a spring in their step, and I don't know, that's just been one of my favorite things so far in my teaching career, I think.
Well, I've had 3 full names. So my first name was Brian Derek Strong. And then when I was 10 years old, I was adopted by a man whose last name was Freeberger. And so my name got changed to Brian Derek Freeberger. And right before I got married, I did not necessarily want my wife to take my ex-stepfather's last name. And so we kind of thought about it, and my nickname from a kid was Freebird. So we decided, hey, it would be cool if I took my mother's maiden name, which is McKinney. I took my nickname, which was Freebird, kept my birth name, which is Brian, and just created my own name, which kind of fits me, which is Brian Freebird McKinney. I don't know if I quite decided to become a teacher. I think my whole entire life, it's been a part of me. I think professionally, I made the choice as a chef. And I love teaching the younger guys that would come in. I love working with my stewards and teaching them after all the dishes and everything's clean. They would come and ask me, hey, how did we make this? How can I make the crab cakes? Can I make this? So I realized that I had a passion for that. And then also realized that I kind of wanted to change the pathway of my life. Being a chef, you work long hours, you work weekends, holidays, and as a married man, I felt that would be a shift that would be really neat. So I talked to my wife about it. We put together a long plan of mutual grad schools, and I couldn't tell, I mean, I couldn't be happier. It's been the best decision of my life other than my marriage and having kids. And I truly believe I was born to be a teacher. I never hit the alarm clock, you know, the snooze bar. I'm jumping out of bed running. I spend many hours working on lesson plans and grading and interacting with students in other ways. So I was born to be a teacher. I think one of the unique qualities about being a modern teacher and a village teacher is that it's not just about the curriculum that you present day to day. It's also life lessons. It's being someone that they can talk to or share. Like I had a student this morning who was really excited about the poem she's writing for the Poetry Slam, and she wanted, you know, us to read it and wanted us to take part in the joy of a creation that she had. It's those moments that I think transcend just the history, even though I love it. Like I do, I love teaching Confucianism and Taoism today. But I think it's the ability to transcend the curriculum and to transcend the lesson plans and to reach out and to interact with, you know, younger human beings on a daily basis. It's very few professions where you really get to do that and build authentic, you know, relationships and interactions. One of the things that I try to teach them is that you choose happiness. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror and something happened yesterday that I can't get out of my head, or something's happened to me in the morning. Before I meet my students, before I greet them, my disposition has to be happy. It has to be engaging. It has to be passionate. So in a sense, on a daily basis, I have to fix myself. I have to get ready. I have to reflect. And I think that's important. I think if I can teach that to my students, because they're always like, you know, you're so happy, like, but I choose to do that. I choose to make sure when I present myself to them that this is my disposition. And when I interact with my colleagues, I'm supportive. I never, you know, I don't ever say ill words or cross words. Like we're trying to build a successful school here. We're all on the same page, and it goes the same with all the students in the classroom. We're trying to build something here, and so allowing them to, you know, to destroy that with each other or me doing that, it doesn't work. So I think if I teach them anything, it's that you choose the way you present yourself to everybody. You choose the way you interact. You choose your happiness. So if I can somehow get that through to them, I hope it changes their life in some way.
So I did not take the normal track of becoming a teacher. I actually went through college and majored in social work, got my social work degree. I had done an internship in juvenile justice the last year of college, actually the last semester, and realized that I really liked working with at-risk youth. A lot of those kids that I worked with actually had IEPs. So when I got out of college, really a few weeks after that, I graduated, honestly. I talked to my parents and said, I think I may want to explore special education a little bit more. So I called county office, I talked to them. They said that I could look into becoming a lateral entry special education teacher. So I did that. I taught my first year at Broadview Middle School and realized that I really love special education. Maybe middle school wasn't necessarily my niche, so I went to elementary school the next year and have never looked back. I feel like what makes me a good teacher is the relationships that I build with my kids as well as their parents. I talk to my parents just like I would talk to any other individual. I check in on them, not just regarding how my students are doing at home, but I try to check in with them like if other things are going on in their life. The same thing with my kids. I love to keep tabs on them. I have some kids that just randomly text me at night, hey, Miss Mitchell. But I would feel like the best attribute I have as a teacher is the relationships I build with my kids. I would say the most joy and satisfaction is when I see my kids get it. With my kids, sometimes I don't necessarily see a big it, but we celebrate the small ones. And so when they get something, even minute, we celebrate it. For example, I had a student earlier this year. I had him last year. He was in first grade, but last year he was unable to even recognize the letters in his name. So we would each day practice this year, earlier in the fall, the letters in his name. We would look at him and say, you can do it, Marcus. And he finally got it. We celebrated it as a group and cheered for him. So I feel like really when they get it, like that's the best part of teaching. I hate to admit this, but I'm also like a little addicted to reality TV. So that would probably be one to go with. I mean, I hate to admit that, but sometimes in my spare time, enjoy to watch some reality TV. So people probably wouldn't know that about me because people don't really think I'm a couch potato, but sometimes I am. If I had free time, I would rather like just catch up on DVR. So, yes. So when I was at Andrews Elementary, I had a student, I started working with him in kindergarten. He was repeating first grade. He was still a non-reader. He actually had a brain tumor as a baby, and so that really impacted his memory. So he had a really hard time remembering specifically sight words and things like that. So I Googled some different ideas of like visuals and things like that you could implement to help with sight words, because a lot of that's just memorization. So I came across this program that was called Widgets. And so we would work with those symbols and those words. Well, I printed off an easy reader for him that had repetitive text. And what I did is I took those symbols and put them into the book. Like it was a printable book, so I glued them in. So he went back to his class and he was able to show his class that he could read that. His classmates didn't know that he had the pictures there, you know, or the symbols to help him. He was so excited. I mean, we sang to him. I mean, just to see him beam and how proud he was of that accomplishment, like that will always stick with me.
I became a teacher. I retired from the business world after 38 years, and I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, and I have a master's in business from Duke. So on one of my assignments, I was a senior VP at a big power plant in Illinois, and it had 15 owners. And I was always giving board presentations to these guys who weren't technically inclined as to what they actually bought into, so I was trying to explain to them how a power plant works and all that. And the chairman of the board told me a couple of times, he said, Price, you know, you can really break stuff down and explain it to people, technical stuff, highly technical, to non-technical people, and you ought to be a teacher. And I said, his name was Raj, and I said, well, Raj, I'll take that under consideration. And then a couple years later, retired from there and decided to come back lateral entry as a teacher in North Carolina because I love math and science. It was very challenging for me. I actually worked on the design of nuclear power plants, and I told my wife, I said, when I was thinking about this, I said, well, teaching can't be that difficult. I mean, you know, nuclear power plants are kind of tough. And she said, well, you might be an eye-opener for you. I'm an old guy, probably the oldest teacher here at Graham High School, but I'm very high energy. I'm a very high energy guy. I move around their classroom a lot. I use humor a lot. I try to bond with these kids first to get a trust level going. They have issues. It's tough sometimes for them to even get to school. And so I feel like if I can bond with them and maybe I can help them on some side issues, that they will perform better in the classroom, and that's proven to be true for me. They trust me, they believe me, and they will perform for me. But you have to do your part too, and teaching is not just working a problem on the board. It's more than that. You know, you got to dig deep with some of these kids and get them motivated to want to do the work. And so that's a big part of the challenge. And for me, I love challenges. I've worked on a lot of big projects, so challenges were the name of the game for me in the business world. And so same holds true here. The biggest deal for me is when a kid who comes in with a level 1 5 percentile in math, and they leave a level 2 49 percentile or 39 percentile, the growth. I can see the growth. It can be measured. The growth really can be measured. I'm kind of a numbers person, being an engineer anyway, but when I see their end of course test grades, what they came in and what they left, and I see significant growth, I get really, really excited. I also see them grow and mature as an individual too, and that's pretty rewarding. When I have a level 1 that goes to a level 4, I'm like doing the dance in the hallway. You know, so that's, and I've had a few to do that. I think I'm a pretty caring individual. That's how I grew up with my mom and dad, and that's part of you know, my upbringing and what they instilled in me. And a lot of these kids don't have a mom and a dad. It's a lot of non-nuclear family children here, and so they don't know what it's like. So there's some kids that call me grandpa, and there's some kids that call me dad. You know, but I'm not their dad, I'm not their grandpa, but maybe I am here at school for a while, you know.